Thanks for clicking on another video from American Fun 351. Today we're going to take a look at a very interesting piece of Cold War firearms history. And this is the Romanian M1969 training rifle. But before we go take a close look at the rifle and all of its features, we first got to know some history and background about what it is and why it exists. And in order to do that, we're going to go back in time to Czechoslovakia in the year 1968. So Czechoslovakia back in 1968 was a member of the Warsaw Pact. They weren't official members of the Soviet Union, but the Warsaw Pact was similar to what we know today as NATO. It was the Soviet version. But so they were still very heavily influenced by the Soviets and militarily were, aligned with them. But in 1968, the government of Czechoslovakia was a little too liberal for the Soviet Union, and they were allowing too many freedoms for the Czech citizens at the time, and they began to protest and share some ideas that were contrarian to the communist viewpoint that the Soviets want everyone to have. And so in August of 1968, the Soviet Union decided to invade Czechoslovakia. And so they sent Warsaw Pact troops in from the neighboring nations to go and suppress all the rebellions that were going on in Prague, as well as overthrow the government and instate one that was more pro-Moscow. And so that was a really big deal at the time, the fact that the Soviet Union invaded one of their own Warsaw Pact member nations. And Romania was a neighbor of Czechoslovakia, and they refused to participate in the invasion. They were really disgusted with what was going to happen and what they saw happen afterwards. And immediately following the event, the leader of Romania at the time was a man by the name of Nicolae Ceausescu. And he went out and gave a speech in which he rallied his nation and encouraged them to take up arms and join these militias they had formed called the Patriotic Guard to help defend Romania against any other pending invasion that might happen to them. And so 700,000 Romanian citizens over the life of the Patriotic Guard would join up. And so when you have that many people that are unfamiliar with firearms and need to get taught, you need a way to teach them. And so in 1969, the Army came out with the model M69 training rifle. And so this was used by citizens all over Romania to learn the basic fundamentals of marksmanship and firearms maintenance. And so all sorts of people were trained on these, factory workers, farmers, office people in cities, school children were taught how to shoot in, grade school. And so this model, M1969, filled that role and helped teach all kinds of people how to use a firearm before they could upgrade to something bigger, like, an AKM. And the Patriotic Guard, they were tasked with, using guerrilla warfare tactics to fight back against any potential invaders. And luckily, Romania was never invaded. And so it was successful. Their little training program and their militia, who knows if they were actually ever going to get invaded, but at least they would have had a nice deterrent. But so with that out of the way, we're going to take a closer look at some of the features of this rifle and what makes it so unique. And then we're going to go take it out the range. All right, before we pick the rifle up and take a closer look, I think it's fairly easy to tell, even at a distance, that this is a military-styled bolt gun. It borrows quite a few little characteristics from other contemporary weapons of the era, one of them being this little relief cut in the stock underneath the bolt handle that looks very reminiscent of a German K98 Mauser. These finger grooves in the handguard look like they might have been borrowed off of a Mosin Nagant. The Romanians would have been very familiar with the Mosin. They built quite a few of them back in the 50s. And this front sight protector looks like it also might have been inspired from a Mauser maybe. But on the M69 though, it's riveted in place. It doesn't come off. And they always came with this little vinyl sling. There's a sling swivel at the front and the back, the simple buckle to adjust it. And here at the butt of the rifle, we have another interesting little military characteristic. We have a trap door, spring-loaded, that holds our cleaning kit. And inside here, there's some cleaning items, but there's also a couple tools. One of them is fairly important. We have a punch, but this is the most important tool. It's a little wrench to help you adjust your front sight. Because that front sight hood doesn't come off, you have to have some way to get under it. And so you can crank up and down to adjust your elevation with that. Those were a few of the cosmetic features of the rifle. Now we're going to take a look at how to operate it. These are very robust little 22s, and they fire from a single stack 5-round magazine. Take our magazine out, you pull forward on this little catch, pull your magazine out. They're all windowed, so you can tell how many rounds you have. And when you want to reload your magazine, you put it right back in. You don't have to pull on the latch or anything. Just push it in. They operate like most bolt guns, and they cock on close. And our safety is right here at the back, and it's kind of like a Mauser flag safety, but it's only 2-position. So up is safe, and when we're in the up safe position, we can't see down the sights, so that's a very easy way to know that you can't fire yet. And down is fire. And our bolt we're going to take a look at, and to do that we need to take it out, so we work it, and then right here we push down on this little catch, and the bolt will come out freely. Now, if we look at our bolt on the front, we have an extractor claw, we have a firing pin, but there's no ejector, and there's not an ejector in here in the frame either. But what they did, though, was that they made the firing pin double as an ejector. So there's this little relief cut that catches on the inside of the frame in there, and whenever you pull the bolt back, it will help pop the firing pin out again to eject your cartridge. So that's one of the things they did to help take out one more piece and make the rifle that much simpler to manufacture. That's kind of cool. One of the features I really like about this rifle is the rear sight. If you can see right there, the base is marked 25 meters, but you have two more graduations to flip up to 50 meters and 100 meters. And so that's pretty awesome. And as far as markings go, there's not a lot of them on these rifles, but what we do have is an IMC2, which is the factory it was made in. There's only two factories that will be marked either IMC2 or UMC2. And then we have our date of manufacture. Mine is 1985, and they built these from 1969 till 1989, so mine's a slightly later model. Then finally, our serial number, which is stamped here at the bottom of the barrel, as well as on the left side of the frame and the very top of the bolt handle. We have it again. So if you care about matching numbers, those are the only three on here, so that's all you need to look for. Now that we've gone over some history and taken a closer look at the rifle, we're going to go head out to the range and see if we can hit anything. So we'll see you out there. We're out here this beautiful summer morning with our Romanian M69. To shoot today, we just have a couple rounds of cheap Federal 22 long rifle. And I've got a gong set up about 25 yards away. We're going to take our first shots at it, and I hope you can hear the hits. Very good. All right, here's a slightly different angle. Hopefully you can see the gongs up at the top of the screen. And I'm going to aim for the smaller one on the right and see if we can stack all 5 of our rounds on it. Very good, that was pretty easy. All right, someone has graciously left a 55-gallon oil drum out on the range today. And so we stuck a target to it, and we're going to take a 5-shot grouping at the bullseye and see how tight we can stack them in there. All right, let's take a look. All right, that group wasn't too bad. I'm shooting right-handed. I usually shoot left-handed. I'm left-eye dominant, but for the video and you all, I'm shooting the other way so you can see the bolt work, but that's not bad. All right, hopefully you can see it, but I moved our gongs as far away as I can here at this range, and they're probably right around, I don't know, 50 to 75 meters away. So we flipped our sight up to 50 meters, and we're going to take a few shots at it. I'm going to aim for the little gong first and see if I can hit that one, and if not, I'll switch to the big one. Hey, that's pretty good. Nice. That round didn't want to go in there. I missed the last one. But yeah, that's pretty good. One other note I wanted to make that I kind of forgot about earlier was that the magazines, this one's original, but they have aftermarket ones that are made in America that you can pick up, and they're pretty reliable. So I'm going to go pick up one of those and see if that might help with our misfeeds that we had earlier. But yeah, this was a great little rifle. I'm going to go take you back inside and finish with some closing thoughts. Well, I hope you enjoyed the range footage. That's the first time we've done that on the channel so far. And I just wanted to end with a few more thoughts on the Romanian M69s before we end. And one of those being the fact that these are still pretty affordable. These rifles are right around $200 to $300 still on the American market. And if you're looking for a 22 to add to your collection that you can shoot cheaply, or you're looking for something for maybe your kids to learn how to shoot on, I think these Romanian M69s are a great option. If you think, you could spend 200 bucks on, say, a cricket, or you could spend, 250 on something like this, I think getting that little added history and, cool context makes it worth it. And so if you're ever out in your travels and decide you want to pick up a 22 for your military surplus collection, I think these are great options. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy these videos. American Fun 351 will be back later with another firearm review for you. Thank you so much.